at the next. Without mindfulness, whether the mind gets pure or impure cannot be known. Like a kitchen cloth that gets stained so much that any more stain cannot be seen on it. Ordinary people don't care whether their thoughts are pure or impure. So their minds often get stained with sensual desire, aversion, the frustration, and so on. But they think their minds are pure because they are really mindful of their thoughts. Now with the development of mindfulness, yogis become aware of mental impurity distinctively, like a stain that manifests itself distinctively on a lily white handkerchief. In the same way, unwholesome thoughts become known instantly through your thorough mindfulness. Gold always looks beautiful, but its quality can only be judged against the touchstone. In the same way, the nature of our mind can only be known through the mindfulness. Wandering mind or wild mind means impure mental states. But developing mindfulness, yogi can be aware of its nature and can purify it of mental hindrances. Yogi can testify it from your experience. So every moment of mindfulness means moments for the mind to be purified of mental defilements. When yogis are able to be mindful continuously, say for 5 minutes, 10 minutes or 20 minutes, by noting one object after another continuously, like counting one rosary bead after another, you will find your mind purifying of such mental hindrances as sensual desire, aversion, laziness, wandering mind, and skeptical doubt. So there is mental purification, citta visuddhi. Some teachers overlook this way of mental purification and believe that only if you gain jhanic concentration, you gain citta visuddhi, mental purification. They believe that only jhanic concentration can mean citta visuddhi, mental purification. But this jhana-induced mental purification is all about the uninterrupted concentration. Focus on a certain meditative object, which is called Samatha Babandha Samadhi. Samatha Babandha Samadhi. And the other kinds of mental purification is about momentary concentration that comes along with vipassana insight, vipassana khanika samadhi, developed through the moment by moment mindfulness. However, in essence, both jhanic concentration and vipassana concentration purify your mind by keeping mental hindrances away. Through such mental purification, yogis can become aware of mental and physical phenomena distinctively. Normally, we begin with rising and falling of the abdomen in our practice. Many people don't like it at first, but when they tried it on the advice of their teachers and friends, they found this method quite satisfying. So much so that they even blamed those friends whose criticism had misled them before. The mindfulness meditation certainly appeals to those who have seriously followed it because it directly helps them to discern ultimate phenomena. Just as you know the heat of fire, the sweetness of sugar, etc., from your experience, so also you can know from your experience whether this method is right or wrong. In fact, when we tell the yogis to focus on the rising and falling of the abdomen, this instruction is in essence of the Buddha's teaching. What is rising and falling of the abdomen? The rising and falling of the abdomen is air elements, Vayo Dhatu. It signifies the air elements, one of the physical phenomena that belong to the physical aggregates, Rupa-khanda. The characteristics of air elements is pressure, Vitambana Lakkhana, which you can discern when you are aware of air elements. A Vipassana yogi is to observe mental and physical phenomena. How do you observe these mental and physical phenomena? Do we have to observe these phenomena by name, by number, or by shape? No, not by name, because names are just concepts, not by number, either since it is not necessary to count how many physical or mental phenomena are there. Some people contemplate phenomena by shape or form as minute particles appearing cluster by cluster. But shape is conceptual phenomena manifested based on color and formation, but not an ultimate phenomenon, any of mental and physical phenomena. So for example, how can it be possible for yogis to observe sound, smell, or taste in shape as minute particles appearing cluster by cluster? Even if material objects may lend themselves to such observation, the same cannot be said of mind and mental factors such as lobha, passion, dosa, aversion, moha, delusion, etc. For example, when there arise passion, when there arise attachment, when there arise aversion or depression in you, it is impossible for you to observe these mental states as minute particles appearing cluster by cluster. In reality, yogi can discern the psychophysical phenomena, nama rupa, in terms of their characteristics, functions, or manifestation. It is what the Pali text say, but not what we say. It's from the Pali text. Visuddhimagga, the path of purification, says, Lakhana rasa divasena brighe tabba. Namarupa, psychophysical phenomena should be grasped. Namarupa, mind and body process, should be comprehended in terms of characteristics, function, etc. In this passage, etc. refers to the manifestation, Pichupatthana. A reference to the path of purification may sound very scholarly. So let us see the manual of Abhidhamata Sangha, which is very familiar to every Theravada monks, because the monastic education requires them to learn that Abhidhamma. So from that manual, it mentioned Lakhana, Rasa, Pichupatthana, Badatthana, Vasena, Namarupa, Brigo, Deiti, Visuddhi, Nama. That means purifications of view means to discern mind and matter in terms of their characteristics, function, manifestation, and approximate cause. So if you want Deiti Visuddhi, purifications of view, You need to discern mind and body in terms of their characteristics, function, manifestation, and approximate cause. At one time, knowledgeable yogis reported to the late most venerable Mahasi Sayādaw, one day I have found the passage from Abhidhamma manual is very comprehensive. In this manual, purifications of views means to discern mind and body in terms of their characteristics, function, manifestation, and approximate cause. Because of failure to notice this passage, some Vipassana teachers are likely to teach their yogis to contemplate minute particles appearing cluster by cluster. Indeed, when we observe mind and body, we are expected to discern them in terms of their characteristics, function, or manifestation, but not by name, form, or shape. So if you ask me what you are expected to discern in the rising and falling of the abdomen, the answer would be Vayodhatu, air elements. Then, what to discern in the air elements is characteristics, functions, or manifestation. Regarding its characteristics, we need to understand pressure, tightness, or looseness is the characteristics of Vayodhatu, air elements. That is Vetambana Lakkhana Vayodhatu. Pali say, pressure is the characteristics of air elements. In our daily life, people describe it as tightness or looseness rather than as pressure. Pressure is sometimes used in the sense of supporting, like supporting a building to protect it from falling down. Now for your empirical knowledge, let us try one thing. If you stretch out your arm and hold it for some time, and you try to focus your mind on the point. So what do you experience when you stretch out your arms and hold it for some time? You would experience tightness or stiffness. So that is what literally described as pressure. Now you are sitting with your waist straightened up, focus your body, sitting, sitting, sitting. What you experience, you can experience tightness around the waist, which is pressure in a technical term. And then pressure itself, when it's decreased in degree, is described as looseness. Suppose, for example, 3 ropes are stretched tight side by side. Then any of them can be considered tight, moderately tight, or loose in comparison with the 2 other 2. So, depending on the degree of pressure, you can describe the pressure as tightness or looseness. Such pressure is the characteristics of air elements. However, in the beginning of the practice, the form or shape of the abdomen is all we can be aware of. We don't deny it because yogis have just started, but that is the first step. As soon as yogi begin to practice, it is impossible for you to attain nirvana. It is impossible for you even to discern namarupa, psychophysical phenomena, the first state of insight knowledge. But as the beginner yogi, you have to struggle at all time with distracting thoughts or mental hindrances. Only when the mental hindrances are kept away for some time, there can be the mental purification. Some yogi after a few days, some yogi very fast to purify their mental states. Then yogi will start to discern the ultimate phenomena like tension, motion, and pressure, and so on, beyond the conceptual form or shape of the abdomen. Yogis may not discern these namarupa as soon as they start to practice. However, the more continuously yogis are mindful, the less the mental hindrances will arise. Then yogi will build up concentration, and yogi can be aware of tightness or pressure with the rising abdomen, and yogi can be aware of looseness and constriction with the falling of the abdomen. So for sure, yogi would thus become aware of the air elements in terms of its characteristics. And the functions of the air elements are inclining, leaning, or moving. All the bodily activities like inclining, bending, leaning, moving, walking, going, etc. convey the same meaning, namely motion that is a function of the air element. Vayo means air, which sometimes moves from one place to another when it is strong, and at other times it remains still and tense. It is a function of the air elements. It is the way it works. You cannot help discerning it when you note the rising and falling. Yogis are quite aware of the gradual motion outward during the rising, and you can be aware of inward during the falling of the abdomen. The next one is manifestation of the air elements. The manifestations of air elements is propulsion in any direction. It is the manifestation. It is said that the air elements push or push in any direction it wants. Bending or stretching, for example, is generated by mind-born air elements. So any direction it wants means the direction determined by your mind. In the case of voluntary actions, such as you want to bend your hand, you want to stretch it out, the direction depends on the mental inclination of your mind. In bending and stretching, there is the inward and outward propulsion. In the walking, you feel being pushed forward. This kind of feeling is apparent also in the rising and falling. So pulling or pushing is the manifestation of the air elements. The manifestations of something is a certain impression that occurs to your minds when you pay attention to these movement. So when yogi knows the rising and falling of the abdomen, you will discern the air elements in terms of its characteristics or functions or manifestation. You have to discern one of the things. You may discern characteristics, you may discern function or manifestation. Anyone you need to know when you practice meditation. So you can look at your paper, page number 3, the characteristics, function and manifestations of the 4 elements. Page number 3, number 1D. Its characteristics is propping up, stiffness and slackness. Its function is to sway, move and propel. It manifests as pushing or conveying things to wherever you want. So when yogi get concentration, yogi can capture characteristics or function or manifestation. Anyone you can capture when your meditation good, that is true yogi. True yogi can capture and note the kinds of characteristic, etc. So can you follow me? Number 1D, Vayodhatu. Its characteristic is propping up, stiffness and slackness. Its characteristic is propping up, stiffness and slackness. Its function is to sway, move and propel. Its function is to sway, move and propel. It manifests as pushing and conveying things to wherever you want. The true yogi does knows and know the elements of air. The true yogi does knows and know the elements of air. So when your concentration and mindfulness getting strengthened, you can capture any one of them. Characteristics you may capture pressure or tightness or looseness, and swaying, moving or propelling, and then the pushing and conveying things as you want, bending, stretching, very clear. That is good yogi. Good yogi can capture the true elements of the Vayodhatu. Then we go to another elements, three elements, earth element, water element, and fire elements. So that is, yogi is practicing meditation. When yogi observe the obvious touching area fixedly, when yogi have concentration and mindfulness, yogi can capture the elements. Sometimes Vaya Dhatu air elements, it is from Dhatu Manasikara, reflection on material elements. The purpose of this kinds of meditation is to remove the concept of a being or seeing yourself and others as beings. To remove this concept, yogi need to practice the meditation of mentally dividing the body into 4 parts and seeing them separately, each as one of the 4 elements that are called Mahabhuta, great elements. Sometimes you may capture Patavi, earth elements. Earth element does not mean the earth as you know it. It means sometimes that is inherent in the earth, and of course in other things as well. The state of being of the earth, or the quality of stiffness, hardness, or softness. There are the characteristics of earth elements. The characteristics of stiffness or hardness or softness are called the earth elements. When you touch the water, how do you feel? You feel some kinds of softness, and that softness is the earth elements. When you feel the wind blowing in your face, how do you feel? Wind blowing in your face and you feel some kinds of hardness or softness, that is the earth elements. So you find these earth elements everywhere. What is the functions of the earth elements? The function is to act as a foundation, sometimes on which something else is resting. To practitioner of Vipassana who meditate on the earth elements, It manifests itself as receiving or accepting. So yogi must understand the earth elements according to its characteristics of function or manifestation. Again, its characteristics are hardness or softness. Its function is to act of foundation, and its manifestation are receiving or accepting something. You can look at the paper, page number 3. Number 1A, its characteristic is roughness, hardness, and smoothness. Its function is to provide a base. It manifests as supporting and carrying, lightness and heaviness. The true yogi thus knows and knows the elements of earth. So earth element, if you pay really close attention, you can discern. And another element is water elements. Abodadu, water element here means not the water as we know it, but the characteristics which are trickling or cohesion or fluidity. Trickling or cohesion or fluidity indicates the presence of the water elements. It is present in everything. There is cohesion in the earth or wood or bricks and so on. This cohesion, which holds things together, is one characteristic of water elements. The function is to intensify. It intensifies everything which comes into contact with it. Water element manifests to meditator as holding things together. When you add water into floor, for example, you get dough, the water holds the floor particles together. This holding together is a manifestation of the water elements. So when you meditate, this manifestation will sometimes comes to yogi. Yogi will see it, yogi will know it, sometimes by its characteristics, sometimes by its function, sometimes by its manifestation. Your meditation is right. So apodatu number B, you can see its characteristics is liquidity and flow. Its function is to increase wetness and expansion. It manifests as stickiness, cohesion and solidity, and causing things to become heavy and fall down. The good yogi who have concentration can capture anyone characteristic or functions or manifestation of the air element, water elements. And then the last one is Tejo Dhatu, fire elements. Fire element is not the fire as we know it, but the state of being of the fire, the quality of fire, that is heat. Heat of fire, mature and aged things. By heat, we mean cold also. Heat and cold or temperature is the characteristics of fire elements. When you feel hot or cold, you feel the fire elements. When the body becomes mature or when it ages, it is the work of the fire elements. The function of the fire elements are to mature things, to cool or to heat things. The manifestation is continued supply of softness. For example, if you cook something, what is cooked will soften. In the same way, the heat in our body soften it so that our body ages. So these are the characteristics, functions, and manifestation of the fire elements. You can see in the its characteristics is heat, warmth, and cold. Its function is to provide heat that causes things to ripen and mature and gradually become soft and pliant. It manifests as increasing lightness and elevation. The good yogi who have concentration can capture one of these characteristics, functions of manifestation. So meditators, when they practice continuously and precisely, they can capture the 4 elements. Meditators contemplate these 4 elements during their good practice. Let us see how you can observe these 4 elements when you are practicing walking meditation. When you walk, first you lift your foot. The upward movement manifests the lightness in your foot. So the lightness is caused by the fire elements. When you raise your foot, there is movement. That movement is caused by the air elements. So when you push your foot forward, the movement is caused by the air elements. When you put your foot down, how do you feel? What you capture is heavy. So it becomes heavier. That indicates the presence of the water elements. And when you touch the ground or the floor with your foot, you feel hardness or softness, both in the floor or in the foot. That hardness or softness is the characteristics of earth elements. So in making one step, you very careful of your steps and you can capture these elements. You can distinguish these 4 elements. In lifting the foot, the fire and the air elements are evident. In pushing the foot forward, you recognize the air elements. In putting the foot down, you capture the water elements. And in touching the ground or the floor, the earth elements. So yogis observe the four elements that are present in a single step. Although at first, yogi may not notice the presence of all four elements. When yogis see the elements clearly, they lose the concept of a being, hardness or softness, or pressure or tightness. It can be called man, it can be called woman. No. Pressure, tightness, looseness, hardness, roughness, smoothness, liquidity, heat, cold. These are not men, these are not women, these are not beings. So meditators see these elements clearly and they lose the concept of a being. They see now that there are just these four elements going, four elements standing, four elements lying down, four elements eating, etc. When you see only these four elements going and so on, you cannot see a person, you cannot see a man, you cannot see a woman, and you lose the concept of a being. The observation of the four elements is explained in the sutta with the simile. The commentary explains it as follows. When a butcher is feeding a cow, a butcher is nourishing it and then takes it to the slaughtering place and ties it to a post and kills the cow. The butcher still has the notion that it is a being, it is a cow. If someone would ask him, "What are you doing?" he would say, "I'm feeding the cow," or "I'm killing the cow," he would say. Even after having killed it, before he cuts it up into pieces, he still maintains the notion that it is a cow. But when, after cutting the slaughter cow into pieces, he takes and puts the pieces on the table on the crossroad, from that point on, he loses the notion of a cow. If someone would ask him, "What are you selling?" he would not say, "I'm selling a cow." He would not say. So after cutting the cow into pieces, he loses the concept of a cow. In the same way, when yogis cut themselves into four elements, whatever they have, whatever is in their body, it's just four elements. Then they will lose the concept of a being, they will lose the concept of a person. So this meditation was taught by the Buddha to eliminate the concept of there is a being. So the simile should not lead to the conclusion that meditator must conceptualize the elements. The elements taught in Buddhism are in fact not concept, but are parts of what is called ultimate reality. So to understand the characteristic, function, and manifestation, etc., yogi have to observe precisely and continuously. They have to observe fixedly the obvious phenomena so that they can uh, discern the four elements clearly. So we continue next time. We have to stop our discourse for today by practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future. So